What is going on, YouTube? What is going on, Kansas City? And what is going on, everybody? And welcome to the Beat of KC. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lucas Murphy, and if you can't tell, I have the great, amazing, phenomenal Michael Darcy from the KC Sports Report on, as always, like one of the best guests, one of my best friends. Michael, how you doing, man?
Lucas, that was a fantastic intro. I'm doing well. I wouldn't say that I'm great and fantastic. I'd say I'm all right. But I'm excited to be here. We got some good stuff to talk about in this video, and we are so close to actual football. It is crazy.
Yeah, man. I've been taking notes on how Jason Kelsey does his intro for their podcast, so I'm in the works of doing that. But yeah, man, we're super freaking close to football. I think I'm, obviously we have a subject that we're going to talk about, but I think what I'm most excited about is like we're actually going to see football in Kansas City, against the Bears coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it next Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that the Chiefs will be returning home, I think will be phenomenal. I think, the crowd kind of getting back out there, really kind of providing some motivation. We should see more starters kind of getting some more reps. So, yeah, I think it'll be really good, and it'll be good to talk about.
Well, and also, that was one thing that we expected to see Mahomes and Kelsey and a lot of the starters in that, second preseason game, because normally the Chiefs will play the starters in the first two preseason games, and then once week 3 comes, nobody plays. But since Seattle is, a turf field, they didn't really feel like it was smart to, push those guys out there. This way, the Chiefs will go home to Arrowhead and have these starters play and kind of give the fans something to watch. It's not going to be for very long, but at least they'll get to see a drive of Patrick Mahomes.
For sure. And I think that's a perfect segue into what we're going to be talking about. Obviously, you said the starters really didn't make an impact. They didn't really get a whole lot of playing time. We saw a few guys, but it was very, very limited. Now, my question to you, and just kicking it off, is depth. And, recently I made a video talking about our depth, but I really want to get your thoughts. Depth is so valuable in the NFL. And the reason is because, and I even said this in my video, football is a very heavy contacted sport. Injuries happen. Look how many injuries happened in that preseason game alone from contact, right? And so my question to you is, in everything that we were able to see in this most recent preseason game, identify one position group that you feel we need to improve on in the depth.
That's a great question, because that's one thing that I even said, I think in that post-game recap that I did. Your depth isn't important until guys get hurt, and then it's extremely important. And guess what? Your depth is going to get tested. If you're playing football, guys are going to get hurt. And so you need to have capable backups. And so that's why there's some Chiefs fans that were maybe overreacting a little more than I thought was sane to that preseason loss to the Seahawks. But there is some truth to needing quality backups that can, step in a pinch and, do their job. But one thing that I was looking at, Jaden Hicks was playing a lot in the third quarter, and that kind of concerns me because we were told that he was going to be, the guy after Justin Reed walked in free agency, and I'm a little worried about that safety room. And I think that obviously, the Chiefs have so much, talent on defense. The linebacking core had some strong thoughts on those guys, but guess what? When you add Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill, the linebacking core is completely different. But I will say that safety room, especially with Deon Bush, tearing his ACL, I'm a little worried about that.
Sure. I couldn't agree more. I think, the secondary and the Chiefs, and that's where I'm going to kind of lead, is the secondary, just because we did see a lot of injuries in that secondary in this last game. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they left in concussion protocol. I know Noel Williams had to kind of step out.
He was concussion protocol.
Yeah. And then I think it was Josh. It wasn't Josh Williams, but one of them had to step out because of their wrist. And so really the secondary was, I think, truly battle tested in this game. One of the things that I talked about heading into this game was Seattle likes to run a lot of motion. They give a lot of pre-snap distraction, very similar to kind of how the Chiefs like to do. And I think that's obviously the new model in Seattle. They like to run the football, and so they're going to give you a lot of pre-motion and really be aggressive. And I think we saw that, and that really kind of played into some of those injuries that we saw. Now, I'm going to pivot. We talked defense. I'm going to pivot over to the offensive side. Now, we completely understand who we're kind of forecasting for the start of the offensive line. You got Simmons. Left guard to me is that question, and that's where I'm going to target with you. But we know who's starting at center. We know who's playing right guard. we really kind of know who's playing right tackle, even though that could potentially be an interchanging position. But that left guard position really, to me, seemed like it got exposed in this game, whether it was Kingsley, whether it was CJ Hansen. So my question to you is do you think Kingsley has earned or done enough to really earn a spot as the starter, or do you think they might look at Caliendo as the starter moving forward?
I feel like Kingsley is probably going to end up being the starter just like he was last year. How long that lasts, I think that depends on how he plays in the first couple weeks of the season. I mean, if you want to get into the football politics of it, he was drafted in the second round last year. And so the Chiefs have a lot of reasons to play him right away at that new position. I think that, listen, he's going to struggle. The struggles are part of the game, especially when you're, transitioning to a new position. The issue that I had is Andy Reid's not really giving him very many snaps in these preseason games to really figure it out. He played 12 in that first one. I think he probably played somewhere around there in the second. I don't remember his snap count, but he's not getting enough reps at that new position. And that's where I'm concerned, because you don't want him figuring this out against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Baltimore Ravens. Like, I feel like he needs to play more now because you need to know what you have. And for everyone that's saying that Kingsley's completely done, I'm not going to go that far. He's got some good snaps. He also has a couple bad snaps sprinkled in there. And I will say, he had that play where he got beat in the Seahawks game that I actually think was worse than he got beat in week 1, where he was basically beat right off the jump. And it's like, okay, if you're going to get beat slow, or at least give time for the play to develop. If Gardner Minshew didn't get that ball out, as quickly as he did, that's a sack. And that's a problem. And like I said it in my video, Mahomes is going to get hurt if he doesn't improve.
Right. No, and I completely agree with that. And one of the things that I talked about was Kingsley is very, very good in the run game. He can pull, he gets out, and he has a Trey Smith mentality when it comes to the run game. Another thing I talked about in my pregame video was communication. And these guys are learning still. I mean, Kingsley's learning the left guard position, so he has to understand how new guy left tackle Josh Simmons is going to work. He has to learn how Creed Humphrey's going to work being to the right of him. So communication, and I went back and watched that snap of the exact same play you're talking about, and it really looks like there was a miscommunication because he's trying to identify who he needs to pick up. It's almost like they just didn't finish the communication, and Minshew snapped the ball, and then Kingsley literally was horizontal with the turf and probably got tossed about 5-7 yards. So I think it's significant that they need to be talking. And one of the things I talked about too, I think Mahomes in that situation would be more versatile and able to roll out of the pocket and maybe make something happen, where Minshew's like, man, that guy is right there right now. I got to get rid of this football. And so we saw that. And so, yeah, I 100% agree with that. I do believe that Kingsley is going to start. I think they're going to let him learn through the fire. I do. They did that last year at left tackle. Left guard is a little bit less impactful when it comes to blocking. Like, your D ends are going to be lining up most likely on those exterior, linemen. But the thing is too is, I mean, you mentioned it, the Philadelphia Eagles are stacked completely across the line. The Baltimore Ravens are completely stacked across the line. So he will be challenged very much inside against those good defenses. So, and those games are early. Yeah, and I really do agree with what you said. My final question to you before we wrap this video up is, and I think more on a positive note, and that is going to be really the depth of the running back room. Both of you and I believe, talked about how Isaiah Pacheco has shown that he looks to be healthy. His burst, his speed, his agility, his side to side, he looks phenomenal in the minimal amount of time we've seen him. But now you got guys behind him like Kareem Hunt, who we are in Kansas City are all aware. The ones I want to talk about are Elijah Mitchell and Brashard Smith. What are your thoughts on, I'm going to just jump in, Brashard Smith, because I'm so hyped about him, and I believe Kansas City's hyped about him. What are your thoughts on really what we've seen so far from Brashard Smith?
I absolutely love Brashard Smith, and there was a really weird rumor going around that maybe he doesn't make the team. I don't know what they were watching. I mean, I saw a guy in the preseason that averaged 7 yards a carry. And so the fact that we even had that conversation for a moment just shows you that no one truly knows, what this front office is going to do. The Chiefs have so much depth in that running back room. They're going to have to make some tough decisions. Like, Carson Steele and Elijah Mitchell, they might not make the team. And that's just because they have so many other guys. And you're also going to, take Tyquan Thornton, and Robert Tonyan has looked so good that, like, you cannot take everybody. But I am very encouraged with what I saw from Brashard Smith. I think if he can just get the pass protection aspect down, he's going to be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the one that immediately comes to my mind is they hand the football off to him. He kind of really gets stuffed at the initial line of scrimmage, and then out of nowhere, he like pivots to the right and breaks off. I think it was a 10-yard run. The fact that he has that ability, I think, just tells you where he's at. And like you said, if we can get some pass blocking and really kind of what Andy Reid likes in his running backs, I think he's going to move up that depth chart and challenge, guys like Carson Steele and Elijah Mitchell for sure. I am going to sneak one more in there, and I really think this is not necessarily a question, just want to get your reaction. But the fact that we saw Jalen Royals get a kick return, and he ran it back for 49 yards and really was like within a few, like I think he got tripped up, but like was within inches of breaking it off for a touchdown. What are your thoughts on Jalen Royals returning kicks?
I think Matt Derrick tweeted it out. That return was not good for Nico Remigio, because now you have a guy in Jalen Royals that you think can be your kick / I guess, no, he'd be your kick returner, right?
Yeah, your kickoff
Smith?
Specialist.
The Chiefs now are in a position where you've got a couple different guys that can do that. And there was before Nico Remigio, was it Montrell Washington that was returning punts for this team? And so you're in a much better spot at that position now. And I mean, Jalen Royals, he didn't play a lot in that second preseason game, and it's almost like they did that because they know that he's going to have a big role this year.
Sure. I could not agree more. Michael, appreciate you coming on as always. Everybody anticipate this will continue to happen throughout the season. I appreciate him coming on as always. We enjoy talking with each other. These videos could be hours long, trust me. So we really appreciate you all. Michael, before we completely hit stop recording, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report, and then watch the last 10 minutes of the second episode of The Kingdom, because I had the opportunity to make a little guest cameo, I guess. They used my Kareem Hunt take, I guess. Didn't get paid a single cent by ESPN, by the way, so maybe a lawsuit will be in the works. But no, that was a really cool thing.
For sure, man. You showed me that, and I could not believe that I was able to witness somebody that I talk to on a consistent basis in something like that. It was incredible. So really cool to see. As always, I appreciate you coming on, man, for real. And you guys know how I wrap up every one of these videos. It's just, I truly mean it. Have a good day.